Okay, hold on. Okay, now you can start. Thank you.
Thank you, Yves. Okay. Hey, good morning to each one of you. And thank you for taking time out for this presentation and session. Let me begin by presenting my screen. Okay, thank you. So I'm Sagar. I am the co-founder and CEO of this company called TSS Consultancy Private Limited. And the product name is called TrackWiz. It's at this moment in time where I so feel as if the real world and the people face to face is so much better. But nevertheless, I think the virtual world has its own advantages. But I'm personally like a big fan of being face to face, greeting, meeting people. Okay. Um, let's get started with a little bit of background, and then I'll come to very specifically the agenda. So our company, TSS, we are headquartered in India, and we've been focusing on financial crime, and simplifying operations. That's really our mission, our focus. We help financial institutions, big and small, to help them with their regulatory compliances and making sure that their operations costs remain in control. That's really what the focus is. A little deep dive into who we are. We're a team of about 200 people. More than 180 institutions is what we support, and all kind of institutions, right from banks, lending companies, insurance companies, and listed organizations. Currently having presence across India, South Africa, and United States. That's the three countries that we serve. Like I said, focus being risk and compliance operations and helping grow businesses. The agenda, and the topic for the day, that we've picked up to deep dive specifically is, an introduction to risk rating and periodical reviews. So we're going to talk about risk rating. We're going to be very focused on money laundering risk. We are not talking about financial risk here, but very specific to the risk which is associated with money laundering. Second, go on to some about what are the current practices, what are the challenges, and a new approach, to taking care of the ongoing due diligence, and how a new approach is kind of shaping up and is giving very good results. So you may kind of see value or advantage in adopting some of these good practices. Okay, great. So TrackWiz does actually offer, the anti-money laundering solution and all the 5 blocks of a typical anti-money laundering solution, which is starting from screening, which is where we do name screening, sanction screening, adverse media, watch list monitoring. All of those comes under the screening module. We then have risk rating, which is what we're going to cover in depth today. Transaction monitoring, and regulatory reporting is when the customer actually starts transacting, and if there is, a suspicious transaction that crops up, then there's an obligation to file an activity report to the central FIU, which is the Finance Intelligence Unit. So, these are the overall components, and TrackWiz does cater to each module. So you may pick and choose the one that you like. But the focus for day is going to be risk rating and periodical reviews, right? These are the two that we're going to focus and deep dive on. Just to take a little bit, step back to see, which is the precise regulation that talks about the requirement of conducting and ongoing enhanced due diligence, is FICA. The clause 21C, talks about the requirement of ongoing due diligence. And there is, we've taken another regulation, this time from the Central Bank of Nigeria, the AML regulation, Part 4, Clause 26, where it also talks about applying customer due diligence, based on the materiality and the risk, and also talks about many different events, which would require, a customer due diligence. So we've kind of taken up these two countries. I mean, pretty much every country, in Africa requires, the customer due diligence and ongoing due diligence, primarily on the guidelines issued by the Financial Action Task Force. Now, away from the regulation, let's get to the reality of what do we exactly mean when we say risk rating. So risk rating actually means that we kind of categorize every customer whom we want to do business with in three buckets, which is low, medium, and high. And these three buckets, there are criterias and models through which we can do that. But more importantly, there is also a timing as to when you would do a risk rating of a customer. Now, what's an example of a money laundering risk versus a financial risk? Right? A financial risk would typically mean that if a customer, John, comes and borrows a sum from a lender or from a bank, and if the customer is not able to pay it back, you may call that as a financial risk, because you're taking an exposure of an X amount, but the customer may not pay back. So that's what we call as a financial risk. But let's turn the table and say, what is a money laundering risk? A money laundering risk would mean that a customer, say for example, staying in a suburban or a remote location, and at an age of, let's say, 24, comes in and says, I want to make an investment of, say, $100,000. Or if the customer takes a loan for 5 years and all of a sudden repays the same in 2 months, right? So the money laundering risk says, where did the money come from? As compared to the financial risk says, doesn't matter where the money came from, but we need the money, right? So the money laundering risk is quite inverse of the financial risk, to say, if this customer is paying so much or investing so much, what's happening? Where's the money coming from? So there is a need to do the risk profiling for money laundering risk. And there are three moments in time when you would actually need to review the risk. So the first one is an initial profiling, which is before we shake hands with the customer during the onboarding journey, is when we need to do the profiling, which is what we typically call as initial risk rating or initial profiling, right? The expectation is that you generate the account number or the customer ID for that individual or business after the initial risk rating is done. The second one is trigger or an event-based review, which means that you conduct a review when something happens. So say, for example, the customer comes and says, the customer's been investing like $100 every month, and all of a sudden the customer says, I want to invest like $50,000 this month. So that's, a trigger. And then you may quickly review and say, okay, is the customer's background and profile still the same? Is he still earning what he declared us 4 years back? Or is he still in the same business? Let's quickly review, this particular customer again. So that's what we call as an event-based review. And the last one is periodical review, which is what we're going to look at more in detail, But the periodical review means that you're doing it at a set frequency. It does not matter whether the customer did a big transaction or small, because that gets covered in your triggered review. Periodical review is set. So you say, okay, every 1 year, I'm going to review my high risk customers. Medium risk, maybe 3 years, and low risk, maybe 5 years or 7 years, or maybe even 10 years, right? So you review them at a set frequency based on the risk of that customer. Now, what is the process of doing a review of the customer? So the step one is, of course, starting before time. So if you know that the customer review is due, let's say on 1st of August, then you may want to start the process maybe in 1st of June, so that you have 60 days to complete it. Now, the most important block of a customer periodical review is to get the latest information about the customer, which is actually one of the most challenging aspects of doing a periodical review. Right? Now, once you have the latest KYC of the customer, it becomes easier because you have the transactional information, you have the KYC information. You can again say whether the risk of the customer is the same after recalculation or has changed. Right? But the foundation of doing this risk calculation again is getting the latest information again from the customer, right? Which is what we call as recertification of KYC, or commonly called as KYC refresh, or even a shorter word is called re-KYC, which is refresh the KYC of the customer. Now we all understand how painful it is to reach out to customers, even to give them the KYC when they are getting onboarded the first time, or when we are opening an account. And here the expectation is to do that, say 2 years or 3 years, depending on the risk. How onerous or engaging it could get. So the first approach is the traditional approach, which is where typically a bank or an institution will write a letter or an email to the customer and say, here's a form. We want you to fill this up and tell us what your latest information looks like. Right? Easier to adopt, but the success rate of this approach is very, very small, naturally, because the customer finds it very onerous to fill, even if it's an email or an online form or a physical form. In all situations, it's very onerous. So then came a second approach, which is the customer gets a form which is pre-filled, right? So you're going to go to the customer after 3 years and say, hey, John, this is the information you gave us 3 years back. Can you please tell us if this looks okay? It's pre-filled. If you think that you want to make a change, just let us know and change only that one field. Whether it's physical or online, this approach is definitely much better than the first approach, because it's a pre-filled form. Even you and me, when we get something which is pre-filled, there is a tendency to quickly address it, right? So that's why this has a better success rate. Probably not enough, but still it is much better than the first approach. Now, what we're talking about here is the new approach, right? Where what we're saying is, what you may do is leverage an existing KYC registry, which might be available, or an external source that might be available, which might have the customer's latest KYC, right? And an example could be, like Nigeria has one, South Africa also has one. So you have these different KYC utilities, or you could have a national ID number registry from where you could fetch the information of that individual or business, right? You fetch the information, and once you fetch the information, you compare that with what you already have, right? So the customer gave you this information 3 years back. Now you have latest information pulled from the registry or the public utility, and you kind of compare the two to say what is the delta, what has changed. The next thing that you do is you go reach out to the customer and go to John and say, hey, John, look, I have this information A, and I have this information B, which I have downloaded. Could you help me select which is the latest one or the correct one? So how does it work, right, in reality? So you could actually send out a notification to the customer, on a app, if the customer is already using the app of your organization. So you could have a notification, that could be one point. The second could be a text message. And the third could be, of course, internet banking or web banking. And last but not the least is an email. Right? So you could put out, this information across these different channels to the customer, inviting the customer, which you can see in the sample text that we've written, on a link, right? So the customer knows that what you're asking him or her to do is to come and review the information. As as the customer clicks on that link, which is, which takes them to a particular page, and that page looks something like this, where the customer, it says, hey, John, please tell us which is the information we should consider. Should we consider the current value, which in this case, if you see, in terms of marital status, like earlier, John was single as per what the financial institution has, but the information pulled from the external registry, says that he's married. So what does it mean? Which is the latest one, right? Most likely it'll be the external value, but the customer can select, there's a radio button. So the customer can select saying, please consider this information as the latest. Similarly, if you see, the customer remains in South Africa, but has moved from location A to location B, and the information is pre-filled. So he can quickly select external value. The occupation was earlier not available with you. So the current value says null, but there is an external value. But if you see the financial information, the size of the customer is available with you, but not available outside. And the customer may select, okay, the current value holds good, or if there's a change, the customer can indicate a change. Right? The below information like tax residency details is something maybe that's blank and you want the customer to fill because you don't have it. Then you may leave that couple of fields blank for the customer to come in and fill. So all your old or legacy customers, if you want to collect some information, you can also add those couple of fields below and make this like a very good customer experience. We have been, working on this for, some time now, and we have seen, close to 80% success rate on this particular experience. The reason being that it's so easy that, me as a customer, you have my info and you also have my latest info, and I can just quickly select and tell you which one you need to consider. I don't need to type in data. I don't need to give you any new supporting documents. It's all, just click, 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 and I'm done in 30 seconds or less. So we've seen the success rate of this doing pretty well. So what happens once the customer has made a submission, right? So this is the typical journey. So you have your customer submitting this. Of course, there's an OTP that gets triggered. So you've done like your two-factor authentication on that page before you've taken the submission. So many organizations, after the submission is done through OTP, they accept it. Some organizations for medium and high-risk customer insist, and they do a video KYC after this. So once this submission and data is certified, They quickly schedule an appointment with high-risk customers and do a short video KYC. But again, high-risk customers are going to be 1 or 2 out of 100. So, that ratio is pretty small. And then the system recalculates the risk based on the new information that is available. So earlier, I did not know that the person was salaried or having a business, but now I know that the person's having a business. So accordingly, the risk rating and the score could change. Right? And finally, based on the new risk rating, the user has approved it, and it goes to, through the next review is date is free. So right now, if I decided the customer is medium risk, the next review date of 2024 would be set, and the transaction would stand completed. So this takes us, from start to end of a periodical review. Right. Now, the way we are looking at this in terms of the digital world, um, this is actually, pretty important. It's not just a regulatory compliance need, but today you're onboarding customers strictly digitally in a big way. These are pure, low-touch relationships, and good due diligence happens at the time of onboarding the customer, but there is very little that happens in this digital world after the customer is onboarded. So that continuous review is not just a regulatory ask but a real ask. The second one is, what we are saying is, fetching this KYC from external sources makes a customer very happy because it's pre-filled, good success rate. Thirdly, and I think this will only grow, which is you would also have sources like LinkedIn, right? Where you would be able to fetch the occupation profile. So, wherever it is, but in the formal sector, that an individual would go and quickly, make a record in LinkedIn with his business change or his employment change. Maybe financial institutions will be notified later, but there is, a quick update that happens on LinkedIn. So this could also be, a source, and many sources like these could be used to bring that delight to customer and have a latest KYC. And you know we are actually moving towards a path whenever a customer changes something like this, you could have mechanisms that will notify to you in advance, so you don't need to wait for 3 years. Engines nowadays are available where you could track your customer behavior and say, okay, he's gone and changed his occupation on LinkedIn. You're notified that, oh, something has changed here. You don't need to wait for the 3 years to end, for doing a review. So the periodic review, we feel may not remain periodic in a couple of years, because as and when something changes, the information would be reviewed. This kind of, uh, sets us for the periodical review. We do have, some time, say about 8 minutes or so, 6 minutes, sorry. And I think maybe we can quickly for a couple of minutes, glance through how does a risk scoring or a table actually look like on a real system. So as you can see here on this particular dashboard, you will be able to see, the different buckets. So right now we are talking about initial review, which is when a new customer comes on board. We've looked at the periodical review. Yeah. And let's look at a particular record of Lisa Ray. So Lisa Ray is a customer which is getting onboarded. So you would see an actionable like this. And when I go to the risk score tab, it does show me, that, okay, this particular customer, is an individual. And there are these different factors that you're able to see, whether the person has, a geographic risk or an industry risk, and all of those factors put together give you a risk score, and, which gets your derived risk. With this derived risk as high, the user can now set what the next risk looks like. Right? Of course, this is just a glimpse, and we could kind of go more in detail. Let's go back to the presentation we have. I just have a couple of more slides. Okay, let me talk about an implementation that we recently completed in South Africa. We did this implementation with Coronation Asset Management, one of the premier asset management firms based out of Cape Town. And their requirement was to meet or be compliant with FICA. And they're currently using two modules. One is risk rating with periodical reviews and enhanced due diligence, and of course, the transaction monitoring module as well. That's Stefan Kemp, the compliance officer at Coronation. And that's his review. They were extremely happy with the implementation, and it really helped them, not just from a compliance perspective, but gave them, I would say, a true shield against financial crime and avoiding any kind of a reputational risk to their organization. We also have, apart from the anti-money laundering different modules, we have a customer onboarding that works on wealth segment, which we typically call as a premium segment. So we not for the retail, not for like a quick 1 minute onboarding, but more for wealth management, where you have businesses that you're trying to onboard. Typically, it takes weeks, if not days, to onboard. So we have a very specific customer onboarding solution for wealth management firm or for businesses onboarding, for corporate onboarding. With that, I would like to take a pause and thank you for listening to me quite patiently. We do have a couple of minutes. If there are any questions, I would be happy to take those up. Otherwise, Yves, I'll need your help to launch a survey which is available. And also there are myself and my colleagues are available right through the day. We will be available online. So if there's any question or a note or something that you want to know about, please reach out to us. There are about 5 of us. We'll be happy to share and help in whichever way we can. Okay, do we have any questions lined up, or we could actually go in for the survey?
Thanks, Adar, for your presentation. We'll inform you later about the survey that is being done.
Thank you, Yves.